it is about staying in your lane, the lane you were gifted with, and you were gifted with it.
Absolutely.
It is the truth about you. Stop dismissing it. That does nobody any good. That means people around you aren't getting the best of you, right? If you dismiss it. If you think if it's of no value, then wow, people are missing out. The world needs who you were meant to be. We say that a lot.
Right. And I would say you're being selfish.
Yes.
Because you're not sharing the very best of you. Welcome to the Hope and Hairspray podcast. I'm Rhodi Kate.
And I'm Kelly Osborne. Our minds will always believe what we tell them. This podcast will help give you truth, give you hope, and also give you a little hairspray to make it all stick.
Let's jump in.
Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 4.
Yes.
Number 4. You're still here.
I'm still here.
I'm so proud of you for still being here.
I'm surprised Josh is still here. He's our producer. He's really working with me, so I appreciate
Rhodi
that.
has a lot of issues.
I do. I'm trying to get so much better.
So much better. Isn't that why we're here? I mean, it's literally at the core. So our vision and our mission is to literally help women be better together and to make it easier for them to do that. Right. But today, this is
good.
This is a good one. Drum roll. If I was a drummer, I'm not. It would literally be a cornerstone of Hope and Hairspray, and it's truth. And more specifically, it's truth about self, because we always start there.
We do. And if you remember, Kelly,
oh no,
our tagline is truth, hope, and hairspray. So
it is.
It's more, it's definitely a corner. It wouldn't be. It is a cornerstone, right? It's really important.
Absolutely.
And I really learned this in this way from you.
Really?
Well, I always said start with self and understanding who you are and what's important to you.
For sure.
But when you first said to me, it's about truth, I was like, tell me more. And then I'm like, it really is about truth. It's about the truth about who you are. It's about truth of, when you put it in that light, because I think out there's so many untruths. Untruths.
Yeah. Bombarded. Bombarded by lies, right? Or misguiding. Like maybe we were told when we were little, oh, you're going to be such a great engineer. And I'm like, okay. Right. Like not everything has a malintent, right, to steer you wrong, but really discovering it is the strongest filter I apply to my life personally. Okay. What is the truth? You could get some bad news or somebody could tell you something. First question, is that true? Is that true? So we're talking about truth about self. Also, the antithesis of this is how many people today. I know. That's not good when you speak for a living.
Right.
So the antithesis is how many people think that they are actually self-aware.
Right.
So I have a good statistic. Okay.
I like this. So what's the question again? How many people think?
How many people think that they are self-aware? Okay. How high do you think that percentage is?
Oh, what's sad is I think you've told me this like a couple of different times, and you know me, I just don't remember.
Yeah.
21. I don't know.
So 95% of people think they are self-aware.
Okay. Yes.
Guess how many actually are self-aware?
That was the number 21. That's what I was going to. So I'm going to stick with 21.
Yeah. 10 to 15%.
Oh God, that's even worse than 21.
Oh, so clearly.
Yeah.
We as a population are not as self-aware. And also self-aware doesn't mean low self-confidence either. Right. Let's dispel that. Like that can be a Band-Aid on something too, right? Okay. Maybe. So this is, who are you? Who were you designed to be? Who were you meant to be? What are your gifts, your talents? What is the truth about you? Right. And that's super important, because clearly we must have blind spots if we think we're self-aware and we're not. That means we have blind spots.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think you have blind spots, Rhodi?
Oh, for sure.
Let me
sure.
I always tell people, let me just tell you my blind spots first. Let me just tell you what I'm not good at. Let
But
me
wait,
just tell you.
if it's a blind spot, doesn't that mean you don't
I've
know
asked
it?
people. We'll talk about that. I didn't know it, and they're hard to hear.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that for
okay,
sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So let me just list them for you. I'll give you a head start. Give you a handicap, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's tough. That's absolutely tough. So self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we become more self-aware?
Well, I think you mentioned you ask people.
Yeah.
You ask people. So from
The right people.
Well, right, but from a corporate perspective, we do this quite a bit, right?
Okay.
Or depending on your organization, but there's something called a 360, which is a survey that someone can send out to the people that report to them, the people that they work with, and even their supervisor, and they're going to give them back feedback.
Are they told they have to do this, or do they willingly do this?
Yes, to the first one, right? So it's it's an HR thing, but and I believe feedback is a gift. I truly do. Sometimes it is hard to hear,
Sure.
but when you ask people, you do not have to be that formal, obviously, but that is what a great way to get an understanding of what other people are seeing, so you can understand where your interpretation is. Doesn't always mean it's the truth. There's people out there might not give you the truth.
Sure.
They may have something going on, and it's not really true. So when you hear something, it's good to sort of understand if
Is
it's
this true?
Is this true? Is this true about me?
Right. If you have this angst in you, it could come from a couple different places. Right. It could be like, wow, I really don't think that's true.
Right.
Or, ouch, that really hurt. I don't want it to be true. Right.
Yeah, I picked that one. Oh,
Sure.
darn. I did not want that to be true. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we take things, especially as women, we take things so personal. Right. It's a personal, oh my gosh, they didn't like my report.
Yeah.
I must suck.
Well, and you know what's funny is I always think, how would I not take it personally? As much time, so this is probably very unpopular, y'all. I spent a ton of time at work. I really put my heart and soul into things. I'm a hard worker, and what I do for a living, I'm passionate about, from a people perspective. And of course, now I'm on my own, and we have Hope and Hairspray together. But when I was from a corporate perspective, it's like I worked with people and supporting people and helping them be successful. So yes, I thought it was important. I put my heart and soul into it. So sometimes I did take it personally
There's a piece of you.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying it was, I'm not saying it was the right thing, but sometimes I think we do put so much into it. How can we not take it personally? But you're right. We, as women, we probably do that more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more.
Right.
I don't know. I think we can give guys a bad rap too, that they don't take anything personal. Right.
Oh, that's a bad rap. I thought that was a good thing. I like it. But yeah, maybe it can go either. It can go either way.
They have thicker skin, or and sometimes
they don't.
They don't.
They don't use. It's
right. We're all
people
human.
are people. Right.
Right. Absolutely.
People are people, and
absolutely.
So you can get to that aspect of things. So yeah. So I think. I do think you can ask other people and get therapies. Here's the one thing about start with truth, which I think is interesting, and I feel like maybe more women, but maybe they'll tell us one day. Someone will meet someone out in the street and they'll let us know. Please do that if you can.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
I almost feel like sometimes women, when it comes to truth about themselves, they negate what someone says. Think about them taking a compliment.
Yeah, the opposite of this, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's not always positive or negative. I mean, in this case, it's saying, hey, I think you do this really well, and you don't accept that. And reality is you're discounting a potential truth that maybe that's your blind spot. But the ability, I think, an indicator is if they can't take a compliment, that says something too about the truth about self. You have not a great perception about who you are, and that's
who you truthfully are.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. And I just had one of the best bosses ever. I spent probably almost a decade working for Mattel and Fisher Price. So I do have a little bit of corporate background.
Yes. In sales, I think, right?
Yeah, in sales. My boss, Patricia, she was a Southern Belle. And she taught me the best words because I wasn't able to take a compliment.
Oh.
And she just simply said 2 words. She said, Kelly, when somebody pays you a compliment, just say, you're kind.
Oh, versus even thank you. And I like that. You're
Right,
kind.
you're kind. And she said it in
Well,
this
it's Southern,
super Southern accent. And it was just beautiful. And it just, literally, I felt like she told my heart that.
So I get that. Mm-hmm. You know me, on the other side
Next
of things. Well, if you're saying you're kind, is it a way of saying, you're kind, I don't accept it, versus like a thank you? Just say you're kind.
You're
got
kind.
it. Got
right.
it. Oh,
And
I'm
sometimes
sorry.
that's a transitional.
Right. Okay.
Right. Like, oh, instead of brushing it off.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
The intention of the words, you're kind.
You're kind. Okay. Right. That can be a transitional until you can say thank you.
Thank you.
Right. That is such a next level for some women, right? That when you can get to that place where you can accept truth about yourself, like genuine truth about yourself.
Good truth.
Positive truth, right? It's a great place to be.
Let's just repeat that. So when someone pays you a compliment, Kelly, what do you say?
So if I'm trying to learn how to take them, I started with the words "you're kind."
Okay.
And then transition to thank you, like a genuine thank you, because compliments cost nothing, but they gain everything. So turn your thoughts into compliments. Help people along that road, because we're all in different phases. Meet that person where they're at, right? If you feel like you need to give them that tip, like I really mean that about you.
Right.
Sometimes a touch, right? Sometimes repeating it. No. Truthfully, you're really good at what you do.
Sometimes, thank you. Sometimes, I feel like you were telling me that. Good. Sometimes I have said, repeat it. I'll repeat it. And then I'll go, the response is, thank you. Like some people that, like I've been with some women that really can't do that.
Just
So
say
it's like
thank
going,
you.
hey, thank you is all I need, because it is the truth. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, yeah,
So
absolutely.
where you're
Truth
at,
wisdom.
figure out what's the next step for you in
Okay.
accepting truth about yourself. And also, one of my favorite things to do when we're talking about truth is to bust some myths.
Okay.
Right?
Do
so
it.
I have a few myths that I love to bust. One is that we should be well-rounded. Right? We should be good at a little bit of good at everything. And that is not true. That is not true. You should be really good or working towards really good at the things you're naturally talented in. So paying attention to the compliments. When somebody says, wow, you're really good at that, instead of brushing it off, let it be a clue to your talent. Oh, wow, that's like the 3rd person who's told me that this month. Maybe there's some merit to that, right?
Could be.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then also, you can be anything you want to be. Actually, that's not always true. You can be the best version of who you've been naturally gifted to be. I am probably never going to be a professional basketball player. Right? I mean, if I go into an extreme and you're like, oh my gosh, of course you're not.
Right.
You know, like I'm
But
5'8", female, right? All those things, right? But we take it to an unhealthy level sometimes.
We do.
Right. And we're striving for something that we're not naturally talented at. So take a pause, step back. We talked about that on our other episode, right? Living at the speed of life, not stepping back. Sometimes the step back is, let me turn my ears on and pay attention to the things that people compliment. Pay more compliments, right? And you will get to see a little bit better, more accurate picture of who you are.
Okay.
Because with blind spots, not being self-aware, right? Maybe living in old images of what you've been told you are.
Old stories, right? You're listening to stories.
Yeah. Reels.
Yeah. Over.
Right. And then, of course, social media. Oh, the damage. What are they, you're watching everybody's highlight reels
Right.
compared to your life. Right.
Yeah.
So be careful, put the guardrails on. I always tell people, know what your guardrails need to be. Right. How
What does that mean when you say guardrails? What does that mean?
So guardrails is know where you're weak at. Like when little kids learn how to bowl, they put the bumpers in the lanes because, oh my goodness, it's just never going to get down there.
It's painful.
It's painful to watch, right? Bump, bump, bump. But at the end, they're going to hit a pin or two.
Right.
If there's guardrails. So know, okay, I know it's hard for me to take compliments. Okay, so my guardrail is I'm going to learn to accept them, right? I'm going to learn to say you're kind.
Right.
Or thank you.
Right.
You could go deeper. You could actually do what we both are certified in is the Clifton Strengths Assessment. That is a beautiful depiction of the truth of who you are. Oh my gosh, it's a building block for us. It's a foundational building block for us. You'll hear us talk about words like responsibility and empathy and winning others over, which we both have. That assessment took 40 years of research to figure out the human strength. It's not a psychological evaluation. It's not a personality quiz.
Right.
It's a performance evaluator. It shows you where your strengths lie.
Where your natural talents go.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to have something help you to discover the truth. So we said we could ask others, right? And now we say we can take something like a Clifton Strengths and certainly you and I, that's how we met, right? If you listen to episode 1, that's how we met at a conference because we were just working on our craft of being a better coaches, right? So understanding what your strengths are or what you're naturally talented at. So then you can, just because you have them, if you don't work them, they won't become strengths. That's why we go to strength training, right? That same piece. So that is really lovely. I do, I've done a number of them and I like Clifton Strengths because it's about the rest of the story is about you focus on what someone does well, naturally, versus fixing what your weaknesses are. And at one of the retreats, I remember really vividly, we were sharing we have them take the assessment and then we look at their report and we have some conversations about it. And someone said, wow, so we're not going to focus on what I do wrong. And she said, I wish we did that at work. And I'm like, we do too, because it is awful. So she's like, we're not focusing on what weakness is. And what I say about that, well, it's a longer story, so I don't have to say that. But the idea is if your weaknesses aren't getting in your way, if they're not stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve, don't worry about them. It's about results. If you're getting the results you want, great.
Right.
If you're not, and it's a result of something, well, then you deal with it.
Right.
But what I love about Clifton Strengths, it's really about your strengths and how do you take what you naturally do and put them into, make them into strengths. And the other aspect of them kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, and accepting the truth about yourself, that oftentimes when we do this report with people and women in particular, they will downplay a strength. Because
so often, too often.
Yeah, because it comes naturally, because it's a natural strength. So it's too easy for me. So it must not be very important.
It must not be valuable.
Right, the value. You're right. Must not be valuable because it's too easy. Yeah, and we think it's easy for everyone. And it's not. It's for me, and it's natural. Just because it's easy for me does not mean it doesn't have value out in the world. And so, when I really stop to think about the truth of yourself, is you understanding that, I don't know, you're special, you're unique, you have value.
Absolutely. It's like if everybody would think it is absolute crazy talk to judge a rabbit on how well a rabbit can swim. Right? We would be
That's an image is hard. Yeah.
is crazy.
Right.
Rabbits were made to run and hop, right? Like, so that is how were you made? Mm-hmm. Right. And you would never say to a rabbit, oh my gosh,
I wish you could swim better.
Right. You would just never say that, right? They're gifted at that, excel in that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Exactly. You wouldn't try to make it a better flyer.
Right.
You need, you just wouldn't.
I'd like everyone to just take a minute and imagine that rabbit coming out of the watering hole, right? Whatever, and just all wet and depressed and just wet. I mean, it's a little bit funny, but you would not expect it to swim. That's a great visual, Kelly. I love that.
Thank you. It's so important that you judge yourself accurately, right? And that's what the Clifton Strengths Assessment helps you understand the gifts you are naturally equipped with to bring to the table. It's can I do the light?
This story is really helpful.
This is a good one,
I love this story. Yeah.
Okay. So, most women love the candles that are battery operated at Christmas, put them in lanterns.
Life changing, let's just be clear. From back in the day, right? Talk about use of technology, which we talked about last time, right?
Absolutely.
So
my
love
gosh.
them.
So I was super excited, found a 7-pack. Great. I have 7 lanterns. I'm going to open the door, take out the glass hurricane. I'm going to get the candle out, switch it on, put it back in, glass hurricane on, shut the door.
Excellent.
And my husband said, there's 7 of those and you're going to do that every night twice.
Right.
Turn it on, turn it off. And I'm like, I love candles at Christmas time.
I love them. It'll look so special. It'll look so special, good,
right? I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to work harder at something. Well, he was taking the trash out, the box that all these came in, and out slipped a remote control. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to open the door, take the hurricane out, I don't have to touch them now.
Right.
I can just turn them all on and turn them all off. So I went from 15 minutes a night to maybe 2 minutes a night.
Point and click.
Then the instruction manual fell out. And my husband's like, he speaks robot. Like he
does speak robot.
Super smart. So he loves instructions, right? And he read through it and he's like, watch this. He pointed the remote at all of the candles at like 5:00 at night. And it was a button that said 6H, which means 6 hours. It just programmed them all. And now they all turn on at 5:00 and they turn off at 11 p.m. every night. And that took 2 minutes one time.
Right.
So Clifton Strengths, finding out the truth about yourself is like reading your own instruction manual.
See what you're capable of.
You're not working harder. You're working smarter. Paying attention to the things that people tell you are true about you. There's a little bit of pride. There's good pride and bad pride, right? Like there's pride still gets in the way. Right? When you just brush off a compliment.
Right.
Well, that means you're working harder to do things that you may not think are good, or you may not think there's any value in them. When you're running around and doing all the lights every time, you're working, oh my gosh, so what's the math on 14 minutes times 30 nights, right? Versus...
Bigger
2
than
minutes.
Me. I can't.
Troy would have that number just like that, right? He would have it super fast. So it is about staying in your lane, the lane you were gifted with, and you were gifted with it.
Absolutely.
It is the truth about you. Stop dismissing it. That does nobody any good. That means people around you aren't getting the best of you, right? If you dismiss it, if you think if it's of no value, then wow, people are missing out. The world needs who you were meant to be. We say that a lot.
Right. And I would say you're being selfish.
Yes.
Because you're not sharing the very best of you. I mean, so for those, I think that clicks for women. Like as soon as you call them selfish, you're like, wait, what? I'm a giver. I give all that stuff. Well, this
self-awareness. Are you?
Maybe.
Do you want a real exercise? So we're all about hairspray. How do you make this stick? Right? So self-awareness, this is a tough one. I ask my teams to do this. If you're not sure if you have a blind spot, ask those around you. Wow. Talk about swallowing your pride. Wow. I mean, I have some kids that give it to me a lot easier than others because we have a lot of kids that work in our companies. And it is a gift. It may not taste the greatest,
Right.
but if you want to be a better version of who you've been created to be. So have you ever had somebody give you some blind spot? Like what'd you do? You have 360s in the corporate world.
Yeah. No.
Like how do those taste at first?
I remember my first one.
Yeah.
Well, I was at, I'd been in the not-for-profit world. I went to the for-profit world, and I was still, of course, learning and development. And my boss, I learned so much from Jenny, and I think I talked about her a couple episodes ago. And she was telling me about the 360. I don't know how old I am, but I'm like, oh, okay, what is that? And so there's great things in it, and there's some things you need to work on. And there are things I never thought of. So one of the things they said, which I thought was really interesting, was they said, it'd be great if you went to lunch with us instead of always going with I worked on a project with a contractor, with your contractor. And so here I was going, wait, what? I don't go to lunch with you? I mean, seriously, like, what is that about? Get over it. However, hindsight, 25, I'm only 32. So 3 years ago. No. So,
Truth about self.
Wow. Way to throw that at me. Okay. Truth about me. I am not 32. 20 whatever years later, 25 years later, I look back and I think what they were saying to me was we're a team, and part of being a team is engaging and social. In fact, another tool we use, right? When we ask someone, they say, hey, do you have a best friend at work? And why do you ask that question? Because someone who has friends at work and feel like it's friendly and fun is more likely to be engaged. So that was one thing that I expected lots of things that I knew I wasn't particularly good at. That one was really surprising to me. I didn't go to lunch with them.
So
yeah. So you do really learn a lot of things, and you will be surprised sometimes at the things you learn, and it can give you a different perspective.
yeah. So if you want to be better, and that's what we're here for,
Right.
helping you to be a better version of who you were created to be. So one small step, ask for feedback, right? Ask for, hey, is there something? Or we talked about compliments,
Yeah.
right?
Being able to say thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Just say
you.
thank you. You're
And
kind.
take a second. Wow. Am I good at that? Like, instead of being like water off a duck's back,
Right.
just pause for a second. Just teach yourself a new habit, because we have responses. A happens, we go to B, right? So just pause. I'm not automatically going to blow that off, because if you accept that about you, wow, you are really good at planning an event, right? And you're like, that's no big deal, right? Oh, instead, wow, I'm really good at planning events. I wonder if my local nonprofit, animal shelter
Could use
has
some
an
help.
event coming up, right?
Right.
It's amazing the windows and doors that will open. So
That's great.
super
That's great.
grateful. One small step. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.